All right, let's shift gears to the Reds. I'd imagine you'll be making your way out to Arizona sometime here soon. Walk me through, with all of the position players the Reds have, and we've discussed this at length, especially in the infield. You throw in the DH. You've got 5 spots for anywhere from 6 to 7 guys on a regular basis, right? Okay, so guys get a day off, then you roll through the next group, et cetera, et cetera. They bring in Josh Harrison, who's had a really good career, and he's a local kid. It's a great story, whole 9 yards. Is he fighting just to make the team, or do you think that maybe you know what they've told him. I don't know what they've told him. Or do you think that he's got to go out and earn it?
I haven't had specific conversations, but I have a sense of where they stand. Like, I know they wanted to add a player like Josh Harrison all offseason. Look at the biggest, look at the organizational depth chart, not just the 26-man roster. All right, you have all these infielders at the major league level, but the Louisville Bats infield was pretty bad, before last week. And if one guy gets hurt, the next guy who'd get called up would be Mark Mathias, Eric Gonzalez, Alex McGarry, Tyler Callahan. This wasn't an area of the depth chart the Reds were confident about. Now, if, infielder X gets hurt, pulls a hamstring, and you need to call someone up, if that happens during spring training and you need a guy to make the opening day roster, that's Josh Harrison for you. And, he's a guy who was an above average bench player in 2021 and 2022. He's a really good guy to have that role on the depth chart, especially because guys do get hurt during spring training, and he could end up fighting his way into the mix. But if everyone does stay healthy, I think they have 12 locks. We all know who they are, the infielders, the outfielders, Ellie Marte, all those guys, and then Luke Maley. And then that leaves one spot. And they need a backup center fielder, not to platoon with Friedel, because I think he'll play most days, but to be able to spell TJ Friedel now and then, because they haven't shown a lot of confidence in Will Benson being able to play center field consistently. So the guy, you look at then Stuart Fairchild and Jose Barrero. To me, they're the ones competing for the 26 roster spot, unless Jacob Hurtubise knocks the door down during camp. He's another center fielder. It has to be a backup center fielder who gets that final spot. Harrison doesn't play center field, but he is a nice guy to have around.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, and I want you to help me here, because I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, local shows, national shows, all this kind of thing, and have tremendous respect for the guys like you and many others who, spring training starts and the hours you're putting in, all this kind. I'm having a hard time, Charlie, understanding this, and I've talked about this all the time on this show, probably to the point where people are tired of it. But, I sit there, and as much hope and as much optimism as there is about the Reds, and I keep coming back to the starting pitching, and specifically not how talented these guys are, because, look, across the board, who wouldn't want to have the depth that they have? You're talking about guys like Louder and Brandon Williamson and guys like this that may not even be on Louder for sure, but guys that won't even be in the big league starting rotation, okay? But I still keep coming back, and people keep telling me, well, their depth is better. That's fine. You can reach down to Louder in August or whatever it might be. I still think that if the Reds are going to continue to play by the set of rules that virtually every single team in baseball plays under, and that is you're only going to go from one year to the next where you increase the number of innings pitched by roughly 10 to 15% of the guy from his prior year, okay? I just sit here and I do the math, and it's Ohio University math, so I'm not very good at it. But I do the math, and I say to myself, look, their bullpen might be better, but we know the starter's got to be a lot better than last year. And I sit here and I look at this thing, and I'm like, if Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, Andrew Abbott, those guys, even Nick Martinez, if you want to throw him in there, because he's been a reliever and a spot starter. I don't think any of these guys are going to be asked to throw more than 160, 170, 180 innings next year. And if that's true, then that means they have to find other guys to start games in August and September, or decide we're going to blow by that old Tom Verducci sort of thing where we're only increasing 10 or 15% of the year. Am I nuts continuing to think about this?
Somewhere there is a string board where Derek Johnson is trying to piece together 9 times 162 innings for the course of the season. This is the story. This is the story of the season, how they plan for this. There are things they're going to do. one guys will get hurt and then they'll come back, and that's the situation. So you'll preserve some innings that way, for guys who won't be able to go 200 over the course of the season. The guys who don't make the team, I've been told they're considering a 6-man rotation in Louisville, and I've been told they're considering having kind of innings and pitch limits that are more aggressive in Louisville to try to keep the guys who aren't at the big league level, say Brandon Williamson or Connor Phillips, if they don't make the team, fresher for the stretch run. I would say there just aren't too many guys in baseball right now who are going 190 plus innings over the course of the season. Now, would the Reds like to have one of them? Yes, there's a reason they were very, very aggressively pursuing Sonny Gray, and a reason they were very, very seriously looking at the trade market over the course of the offseason. The Reds know this. The Reds would like to address this. They didn't. Their plan B was kind of building it through depth. They do have the best pitching depth in the division, so that should help. But overall, how's it going to piece out? That's a question. There's also the Andrew Abbott of it, which was he wasn't supposed to pitch as many innings as he did last year, and he kept pushing because they didn't have any more options. So it's not like they're going to cut guys off if they're still contributing and there's still enough in the tank compared to, what option number B is. The Reds do have more options. Also, a thing they did specifically was they have more long guys in the bullpen. Suter, Martinez, You can see one of the starters move to the bullpen over the course of the season. Fernando Cruz can go multiple innings. There's another guy I'm forgetting that can go multiple. Sam Ball can do it. They have a bunch of guys who can do that, so they feel they have a lot of innings. They don't have a 180-inning guy. That's a problem, but that's baseball in 2024 for a team that's not going to be able to address all of its flaws, but being a small market team.
All right. Charlie, we can't thank you enough for your time today and all the time for your time. So safe travels out there. Does anybody have anything for Charlie before we let our main man go here? Come on, Elliot. You got something. You got something for Charlie.
Charlie, I'm sorry I have to keep you on, but I'm gonna do one for you. I'm gonna ask you a question. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show. There are still a ton of insanely talented free agents available on the market. I know Nick Krall said we're done with it. I know he said it. But is there a chance, and I know we're loaded in pretty much every position, really. Is there a chance we go out and sign maybe like a Michael Taylor? Can we get a Michael Taylor in here if nobody signs him up until the season?
Michael Taylor, it's funny, in November when I was putting my free agency big board together, I highlight it in bold names. Michael Taylor was highlighted and bolded as a guy viewed as a perfect fit for the Reds. Now there is a long track record of when Nick Krall says they're done publicly and privately, they're pretty much done. And so that's the sense I get. This is a team with a payroll. And, that's the situation that they're in. That's different from the Dodgers or the Cubs or other teams like that. So I would bet no, but a guy like that, that's the one spot. We're looking at Stuart Fairchild and Barrera competing for the 26th spot. Now, that's part of it too. Would Michael Taylor want to sign up to be a guy who would play sometimes against lefties? It's not too, a lot of free agents would probably want more than that, which is why it's not the most enviable spot for a free agent to sign up for because of how much TJ Friedl is going to play. So that's a part of it. But they'd like Michael Taylor, but it might not be there because of payroll and because of role expectations.